All right. So we are live, and I know there's a 20-second delay between our live here and actual social media live. So I just want to continue the conversation, thanking you again for joining us today. And I'm going to give just the audience a little time to log in and to say where they're calling from, where they're watching from, and of course, later on we'll ask Q&A. Already, I've been people are asking me is it going to be available on replay because they had something to do. So there'll be a team replay as well, and we promise we'll answer questions in the feed. So nice. I know you're calling from hello from Roanoke, Texas. Hi, Facebook user is what it's saying right now. Hello from Roanoke. Um, Naj, I know you're actually you're in Jamaica right now, right?
I'm home right now.
Hi, Heather. And but I know you also travel back and forth a lot between Jamaica, US, and Canada.
Yes.
That's kind of like your main points. Heather, thank you for being here, for watching, and hopefully you'll come with questions. Heather from Roanoke, Texas. So we'll give it a little bit. We'll give it another 30 seconds before we jump in because I really want Natassia to bless the audience tonight, and we'll get into why I'm doing this particular episode later on. But for now, we're just gonna just have you guys just those of you who are not shy. I know you guys are going to be watching from Facebook and from YouTube as well. All right. Now, it's corny to talk about the weather, but actually, I have on sweater here in Florida. Hi from Nashville, Tennessee. Hello, whoever you are. Facebook is not giving me the name just yet, but welcome and thank you for being here. So in Florida, we've been wearing jackets today and sweaters because it got into the 50s. So I know my friends like in Texas and Tennessee are very cold. Hi, Tina. Nice to have you here. And I know, Tina, you're one of the people on my heart. I know you had a prayer request from the last show we did. And so I'm hoping that all is well. So tonight we want to talk about resilience, faith, and purpose. And I was explaining to Natassia, I've been watching her for about 5 or 6 years now. We met when we both were on stage at a leadership event. And I've been watching her journey since then. And what has impressed me about Natassia, why I wanted her on this podcast tonight, is her absolute resilience, her courage, and her faith. And we both, we're both in the public square, and we both get a lot of requests for prayers, for encouragement, for advice, and especially during now at Christmas time too. It feels like isolation and loneliness and depression and discouragement is even more rampant. So I wanted to bring Natassia on to share her story and her journey. She's had some challenges and how she overcame. So Natassia, go ahead and introduce yourself and also give a shout out to Mind Food International, your company. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do, and we'll start with that.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so excited to be on tonight. Such a purposeful podcast or session. I know that you are doing tremendous work where you are, because I feel it all the way here. And every now and then I tune in to hear little snippets of the different stories that you have highlighted, and just women who are so powerful in different arenas. So I'm excited to be here tonight, honored to be honest. And well, my name is Natassia Wright, of course, a co-founder of Mind Food International, a United Nations peace ambassador. I am also a wife, a mom. I am so blessed to be business partners with my husband. So we do life together, life, business, and everything else. And I want to give him a shout out. That's Mr. Jamar Wright. He's somewhere tuning in. Our company, Mind Food International, is a leadership development organization and also a HR consultancy here in Jamaica. Now, we not only do events and trainings, outsourcing, but we also have these events worldwide. We have exposure, US, Canada. We're heading back there very soon for different leadership events. And we also have an outsourcing arm that provides employment to large manufacturing organizations. So we have staff members. A lot of work. Must say that it is truly fulfilling, and by God's grace, I know we have plenty more ways to go.
That's wonderful. And yes, Jamar is your rock. You know, he reminds me of my husband. I mean, we met you both at the same time, and we saw you guys as a younger version of ourselves. You know, we've all done everything together ourselves. We've been in business together for over 30 something years. So I really do admire that. You know, you guys both respect each other, because to work together with spouses, it's got to be mutual respect. You know, everyone has their different strengths, and so together, of course, it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Natassia, take us back a little bit to where this all started, because we hear about the UN ambassador, we hear about the international organization and the leadership consultancy, and you're very successful, both you and your husband. But take us back to where this started. And I just want to say too, okay, so you're in Jamaica, you're a Jamaican. Of course, no one can, you know, I can't hide my own accent either. It never quite goes away after 30 something years being here. But sometimes people think that the only place there's opportunities for growth is in the United States. And I don't want that point to be lost, that you are actually born and bred and based in Jamaica, but with an international business. But take us back to that childhood. Take us back to where the road of life shifted for you a little bit, and how that maybe shaped who you are today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, Jamar and I are very proud Jamaicans. It is, I believe that it is because of our background that we have been so exposed, because people love Jamaicans. People love the Jamaican. And so anywhere we go, they're always like, oh, those two young people from Jamaica, they're drawn to what we do. But we have a mantra that we are going to make it here in our country before we go anywhere else. And we're very serious about that. So yes, you can be successful here in Jamaica. But let me share with you, I was born and raised in a community called Almontown. It is not uptown, it's not at the suburbs. It is abject poverty. And I remember as young as 10 years old coming home from what we call primary school, because I was in grade 5. I came home to find my house that my relatives and I lived in completely burnt to the ground. So it was probably about 10 of us living in that house. We were completely displaced because we lost the home. Imagine a child, leaving for school a Friday. I was in my brownie uniform, Girl Guides uniform, and I came back home and had nothing to wear. The story became so real for me about a few weeks ago, because I introduced my husband to the lady who gave me clothes that day. And I said to him, I share the story all the time. This is the lady Pinky who gave me a shower, said, hey, come take a shower. I'm going to give you clothes because you smell of smoke. And tears welled up in my eyes, because I was just putting the pieces together for him to say, this is real. But after that whole ordeal, we put our best foot forward, and we said, you know what, we're gonna continue with life. About 8 months after, I came home, and this time I got worse news. And this was that my father was shot and killed in the line of duty. So he was a police officer, and he got shot execution style and died on the spot.
Jamaican, yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
my father was my absolute world. As a child, they say you're to love your parents. I mean, I would have given up my father. I would have given up my mother any day for my dad. I was a daddy's girl through and through. And it hurt so bad. I mean, for months, I was walking around saying, I don't have to worry because somebody is going to pinch me and I am going to wake up.
Hmm.
That's what I told myself. And so I was going around quite depressed, although not clinically diagnosed. I knew what depression looked like from early.
And how old were you at that time?
10 years old.
10?
I was 10 years old. So
Hmm.
before I was a very quiet child, it got worse. It got to the point where my mother would tell people that she never had a need to spank me. She said I was already a quiet child. I already took things to heart. After my father's death, she said, you know what, she would try to change her parenting style a bit because she worried for me.
Hmm.
But I still did well. I still did well in school. I ended up passing my exams, moving on to Woolmer's High School for Girls, which is an all-girls school. And again, I continued doing well in high school. No, my mother ended up getting married. I'm now big girl. I'm now 16, 17 years old. We moved to another area. And this particular day, my mother was not feeling well. She was having an asthma attack and said she was going to go get some treatment, get nebulized. And then she would come back after treatment. And she just asked me to stay with my brother because we were the only ones there. And I did just what she asked me to. I went, I got the cab, put her in the cab, and 2 hours after sending her away to the hospital, I got a call saying that my mother died under treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And I remember that day very plainly. I remember going in her room and searching for money to buy phone card to make a phone call, and I was saying, God, this cannot be happening again. Like this
Hmm.
is crazy. So at 17 years old, approaching 18, I had lost my father. And now I was looking at the possibility of being an orphan. And it was so. My mother died that night, and this was a Saturday night. The Monday morning, I had 8 CXC exams to sit.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people would say, like, that's not possible. And I'm like, yeah, it truly was so. I was preparing. My mother prided herself that whole time on the fact that I was doing exams. She wanted me to pass, and she would tell me she wanted me to get 6 out of the 8 exams. And if it weren't for her wishes, I doubt I would have showed up to exams that Monday morning because
Hmm.
it wasn't even 48 hours good afterwards that I had to go sit those exams knowing that she just passed away.
And
And
I
I
just want to say something, Natasha, for our American listeners that might not know what CXC exams are. It's the equivalent of having maybe sat the SATs, but a little bit more intense.
or high school GED or something like
Yes, a little bit
that.
more than a high school GED, you know. This was your passage into college, into the next level. And so if you didn't get the right grades, then forget it. So you were saying you had to go sit this serious exam. And for us in Jamaica, you know, your parents pay a lot of money for these exams and you need to pass it, okay? Because you know there's consequences to it, and it really is limited opportunities there, at least I know when I was taking those kinds of exams. And so you get the shot, and of course if you feel you can take it again another year later, but this is your shot. So I just wanted to explain what the CXD exams are, because I know some of my American friends may not know what that is. So that's what it was. It was having to take a serious test for your next level, and it requires just a lot of studying, a lot of focus and concentration.
Absolutely. And so you would have had to pass your CXC exams to be able to transition into university or any college for that matter, because
Mhm.
those are the requirements. And
Yeah.
so it is a serious thing here. And I remember going just purely on the fact that my mom wanted me to get 6 of those 8 subjects. And I went, although I could not study, of course not with all that was going on. And I did those exams. Some of them I did crying, some of them, they gave me extra time, all these different things because they were aware of what took place at the school. And I remember when the exams came out, Coach Gill, I was petrified. I was like, I'm not going for them.
Yeah, for the result.
I was like, huh? I am I'll be the last one to go pick them up. But my grade coordinator called me and she was so excited, and I was like, why is this lady excited that I failed? But she ended up telling me that I passed everything. I got all 8 subjects, and I not only got all of them, but I got them with grades 1 and 2. So those are A's and B's. In
Mhm.
the midst of all that was going on, that was just God's grace on my life, because that pressure, till this day, I I don't have the words to explain what was going on with me in that moment,
Mhm.
because it was tough. The week after burying my mom, it was graduation for me. It was my high school graduation.
Mhm.
And I remember at the graduation, they said to the graduates, stand and face your parents and
Mhm.
sing the song. And the graduation song. And I just wanted the earth to open up and swallow me, because I didn't have any parents. And that
Mhm.
was just that was
Mhm.
just a reminder of what I was going through. Now, my grandmother, who was living in the States, came home in the nick of time before my mother died. And so my brother and I went to live with my grandmother in another city. 1 year after my mother died, that grandmother died from cancer.
Ugh.
I saw my grandmother in agony, in pain. She had a cancerous tumor that was so large in her uterus that she almost appeared to be a 9 month old
Wow.
pregnant woman. And I've seen some things. I've seen gang violence. I've seen my peers not live past a certain age. The young girls, they have how many kids, because after my grandmother passed away, I had to move back to Almontown. And it became real to me that everything my mother used to try to shield me from, it happened to my peers. And
Mhm.
so I questioned life. I asked God, I said, God, is it that this is all? Like, my life is going to turn out to be just like the environment. But, I decided that I wanted different for my life. And it took time, but
Yeah.
it indeed happened.
You know, again, Natasha, powerful, powerful story. I mean, not a beautiful story, but you're sitting here today and your life did not match that environment. And just for, again, for those of you, Natasha mentioned Almontown, that would be more like saying some of those inner cities, maybe in Detroit, not to try to point out any city, but it's some of those urban pockets
Mhm.
that are more prone to violence, so to speak. And that's where she grew up. That was her environment, and within that environment, she also had her own personal disasters, right, with the loss of her family members. But she's sitting here today, an entrepreneur, international speaker, a UN ambassador, a business owner, and tell us, Natasha, what do you think why do you think you weren't defined by that? What were some of the ways that you thought? Because you have a company called Mind Food, right?
Yeah.
So Mind Food means like, in my mind, putting proper food in your mind.
Yes.
When did you begin to take the shift? When did you make that shift from, I don't want to be a victim,
Mhm.
right? I want to be a victor. Yes, my grandmother is gone, my mom's gone, my dad's gone, my house burnt down. Okay, here I am. My life looks very bleak. I'm back where I started in this urban pocket. Um, that's not so good. And I'm looking around my peers, and they're all falling prey to the environment, just as your mom was worried about. But now you have no guidance. All of your guides are gone. How did you find the strength to pull yourself out of that?
That is a great question. And it really started from me just asking God the same question. I'm like, God, so why did you not take me
Mhm.
instead of them? Why am I still here? Why do I still have to go? Why do I have to go through all of this pain? Because, of course, we talk a lot about trauma these days. Those tragedies that took place, like they forever I'll be walking around with the pain of
Right.
losing my loved ones at such a young age. And I said, God, like, what's the point to life? And in all honesty, it started with me trying to find my purpose in life. I wanted to know, why am I still here? How can I make the best while I'm still here? I must tell you though, from I was very young, I was always a dreamer. Like,
Mhm.
I was always seeing myself on stage in front of a lot of people. I don't know if I was singing, dancing, I don't know, speaking, whatever. I always saw myself in my mind's eye doing something to help people. And
Mhm.
so I pretty much went after that internal nudge because I said, there must be something or a reason why I'm still here, and I want to find it. And even while I was there in Almonton, I was telling, I was on another podcast, you mentioned it this morning, and I was asking questions. I said to her, that's the other young lady, I said to her, at one point, I decided that, okay, if my environment is a big factor in who I become, I'm going to change my environment. And when I got my first job, I decided to leave Almonton where I did not have to worry about expenses. And I went into a completely different community and started paying bills. I wanted to be a changed person. And so I extricated myself from the environment and planted myself somewhere else because I said, I don't want to be a product of this era anymore. And I started chasing wisdom.
Don't go any further because I think you've said so much there that I'm thinking of the woman or the man who is in a predicament right now,
Mhm.
right? In a tough place, right? For you, it was a tremendous loss. Like you said, you'll bear the pain of that forever, right? Because it's not like your mom and your dad died because they got older and they got sick. Because my mom died in 2018 from just being older and gotten sick, and I'm still carrying it around, right? So I can only imagine that. But you said some really key things right here, Natasha. You said you began to question, you began to ask yourself questions, you began to ask God, what is your purpose in all of this? What is his purpose in all of this? Why did he leave you? And I just want to encourage someone out there tonight, or whatever you're going to watch this on the replay. If you find yourself in a situation, if you're in ashes, right? In ashes, ask God, what is the lesson here? Honestly, just talk to God honestly. You can cry, you can vent, but you can question. And then the next thing that Natasha mentioned that she did, she changed her environment. Now, it wasn't a good environment, but it was at least free. She had no bills, but it was a bad environment. So she chose, as a young woman, maybe still under 20,
I
to go
was.
to, you was under 20 years old, to go to a different environment, get, pay expenses, put herself out there because she had to do something radical and drastic. And sometimes, my friends, that's what it takes. It takes doing something radical and drastic if you're going to see change. So please continue with that story, Natasha. And again, if you guys have anything you want to jump in and ask Natasha, feel free to jump in and ask. We will put your question on screen. Go ahead. So you went to this other city, this other place. You began paying bills, and then what happened?
Yes, and I wanna mention the complete difference it was when I moved to this new environment. So I was used to waking up in the inner city. They're always quarreling, they're always fights. You hear people, making a lot of noise. There's always music playing. You hardly get the opportunity to hear peace and quiet. And when I moved into this new community, it was actually on a hill, a very nice place. I could overlook the harbor, and it was just a sight to behold. It was something that I was longing for. It was peace of mind. It was me sitting down and saying, okay, I'm gonna make some plans, or it was just different, and that's what I
Mhm.
wanted. There's another thing too. I started reading books. I started reading self-help books. By the time I moved into this new community, I said I was done with God. I was like, God, if you took all of my relatives away from me, certainly you don't like me. So I'm not going to church anymore. Although I was baptized, I was like, I'm not going to church.
Mhm.
But my mother's teachings, they never left me, because although I was saying I'm not going to church anymore, if I got up sick one day, I was still getting up and I was still praying over water and I would drink it, or I'd still walk around with consecrated olive oil. I'm still doing all those different things, but I was like, I'm not going to church, kind of thing. But guess what happened? I started seeking knowledge, and I found them in self help books. And I kept digging, and those self help books brought me straight back to the Bible.
How did that happen?
I just wanted to learn more. I could not stop at, oh, it's positive thinking. Oh,
Mhm.
I knew there was more. There had to be more. And so I started to understand that, your association is important, your spouse is important, because if it is that your spouse is not aligned to, your God-given destiny, they're gonna detour you, or they're going to take you away from where you really need to go, and all
Mhm.
these different things. So I was getting the principles, I was learning all these things, but I said there must be a source.
Mhm.
By the time I met up on Jamar, we went to school together, but by the time we saw each other again, he invited me to church, and let me tell you, that young man got me to go back to church.
God be
Yeah,
praised.
yes, he had his aunt. And I remember when they took me back to church, this one particular visit, it was divine. And I recommitted my life. I believe I got delivered. I mean, like, after that service, I remember being high for like 3 weeks. I was filled with joy. Joy I've never felt in a long while. Remember now, you're talking about someone who was going through a dark period for years. And I know there are persons who are on right now. You are in a season of darkness. You have not felt joy. You have not laughed. You have not felt like yourself in a long, long while, because the circumstances have been that grueling. But I'm
Mhm.
here to let you know that, listen, it's over. You can experience joy and happiness in the midst of the chaos.
You
Right?
can.
You can. And so I remember that was just an amazing time. And soon after, my husband and I, my boyfriend at the time, we decided that we're gonna get married. We got baptized together, and the rest was just history.
Yeah.
After I got baptized, I remember Jamar kept saying to me, he says, Nas, you have to open your mouth and share your story. You
Mhm.
did not go through this for yourself. There are people who need to hear what you've been through. Lots of women, they've gone through molestation, hurt, and pain, and they're afraid to speak about it.
Mhm.
God will use your story to bless others, and the rest was history.
Beautiful. I just want to just say here, Natasha, again for the audience, the honesty. And there might be people tonight. who's like, God, I've been through so much. I don't want to deal with you. I feel like you've abandoned me. I feel like, you're not there. You're not real. I don't want to be in church. What's the point? And this is where Natasha was. Okay. But, and another thing she mentioned too, she was seeking knowledge. Knowledge is good. The proverb said to seek knowledge and to seek, and wisdom, right? Seek knowledge. And she was seeking knowledge, which is good, but the knowledge is all human knowledge, okay? And the reason why I asked her why, because a lot of these books that I read point to the universe, but a lot of them also point to God. They just don't realize it, right? But her quest for knowledge, and God can use anything. That was God's entry point into bringing her to Him. So that's why I don't judge, right? Because God used different methods. You might say, why are you reading all those books? That's what God used to open up her mind from all of that hurt. And so sometimes we tend to get isolated and closed off, right? Which is a no. And in opening up her heart, opening up her mind, and God, of course, brought this man into her life again, who was a man of God. But she was ready at that point to also receive, because God had already opened up her heart to question, to seek, to find. And Jamar was almost like the answer man. She was already open. So I just want to encourage you all out there that's going through. This is the reason why I'm doing this particular podcast. That's going through that. There are these steps that you can take. Natasha said she moved from her environment. Maybe you can't move from your environment, but you know what? You can find a park. You can find a quiet spot that you can go walk and you can talk to God. That is your environment. You can create space. Viktor Frankl, this man, he was in a concentration camp, and he said he found his quiet spot in his mind, despite the circumstances, right? And he was able to survive by living in a peaceful place of joy in his mind. And we're not in a concentration camp. You can find a park. You can find a coffee shop where you can go and just have that moment if you cannot leave your environment. Someone says, so very true, make a change. Yes, self-help books, learning more about the situation you're presently in at that time. Someone says, yes, God can use a billboard, a person, a book, a dream, anything to speak to us. Yes, for sure. God can use a Facebook Live like this one too. Thank you both for sharing tonight. And that is so true. God can use anything. I don't know, Natasha, I did this Bible study years ago, one of my favorite. It was called Experiencing God. And it was written by this man, Henry Blackaby. And one of the things that he said that I always remember is that, of course, God is always at work around us. But God speaks through like a Facebook Live, through a book, even a self-help book. God is sovereign, my friends. Nothing is out of His control. We can't hide from God. I mean, He knows what we're doing, and He can reach us. He can reach you tonight, right where you are, in your troubles, in your agony, in your challenge, in your mental space. He can use it. This is Heather. God is using this Facebook live to help me face my fears and go after the change I need to make. And I'm so glad to hear that, Heather, because Heather, you're a Jamaican and you can identify with Natasha's story. You would understand the cultural aspects of what she's saying. And Natasha, as I mentioned at the beginning, that she kind of gave a brief bio for those of you who came on later, is a very successful woman right now. Where she started isn't where she ended. And where you're at right now does not have to be the future, even if it looks bleak. It could be a diagnosis, okay? It could be a financial loss. It could be just, relationship issues. It could be a mental health issue. But where you are right now does not have to be your future. You've heard Natasha's story. Natasha, I want you to, we have a few minutes. I want you to speak to that person who's going to be watching this maybe later on and give them an encouragement. Give them something that they could do tonight to start to change maybe the energy around them, change the current, circumstance, even if it's just here as a mind food specialist.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, before I actually came on, I was um, in the house and I was preparing my clothes. I was talking to a friend. She's there in the US, and she said, "Boy, Nas, one thing I commend you for and I admire about you." She says, "Even in the midst of your greatest storm, you never fail to show up."
Yeah.
Paused and I said to her, "It's not even a choice.
Mm-hmm.
This life it was never a choice for me. If Coach Gill could tell you how we even ended up doing this tonight, you'd be very surprised." Because I did not even know that it was today. I did not know the time, anything like that. Okay. It is not even a choice. Let me tell you something, whether we like it or not, life is going to throw us some curve
Mm-hmm.
balls. No matter how successful someone looks, no matter how grand their life seems, they are being hit in a place in their life so hard that it knocks the wind out of their stomach. There are
Mm-hmm.
people that you're seeing, you're admiring, they look great. They're going through the worst mental breakdown. They're having the worst family issue. They're having a health crisis. I can tell you about that. I have to be talking to government officials and people who are out there in the public's eye. They're going through the worst health scare of their life.
Wow. Yep. Yep.
There are people who are having serious financial issues. We like to, we glorify what looks good, but we don't talk about those things that are not going right. These people have to go through regardless of what the circumstances look like. I'm
Mm-hmm.
letting you know that all is not lost. And although you may feel as though your situation is hopeless, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes for you tonight is to decide that I'm not going to focus on everything that's going wrong. And mind you, we're
Mm-hmm.
not trivializing what you're going
Yep.
through, because I know it's a holiday season and many of you have gotten up today and say, "Boy, it's the 6th of December and it doesn't feel like Christmas."
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of you are saying, "Boy, it's Christmas, but I have no money." I know you're saying, "Boy, it's Christmas, but everybody else has a family and I don't." You're feeling lonely and forsaken. But I'm telling you, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. All it takes
Absolutely.
tonight is a mindset shift. Say, "Listen, I'm going to be grateful going forward." And before you know it, the company that you're seeking comes. Before
Mm-hmm.
you know it, that gift that you may say, "Oh, I can purchase that," it turns up. All these different things will happen to you and for you, but it takes you getting out of the funk. You got to
Yes.
pull yourself out of the funk and say, "Listen, whatever life throws at me, I'm going to keep going."
I agree. I love this. Finish your point. But I love the point that you said. Someone said to you, no matter what is going on, you show up. You show up. And I hope that hits someone tonight who has
Sure.
been saying no to things because it was easy to say no, not because you had to, but because it was easy, and because maybe it felt more comfortable to be discouraged
Hmm.
than to push past. Sometimes discouragement makes you comfortable, makes you want to lay down, watch TV, watch Netflix, rather than doing the thing that's going to actually get you out of it further. And so I just like that point that Natasha made about showing up. Show up for your life, show up for your life. Someone says, with my recent abnormal mammogram result, I am choosing to be grateful for it, knowing God is using this time to grow me closer to the purpose He has for me. And that's what you got to do, is how you look at it. your mammogram result may not, it may be unusually or abnormally, but it may not be anything. And even if it is something, even if it is something, as Natasha said, let's not focus on the one bad thing. Gratitude is freeing, and gratitude makes the problems like lessen, because when you go to God and you thank him for the things that you do have, the things that you don't have just seems far less.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing that I want to add is, and again, we can't diminish what you're going through. We can't trivialize your issues and your circumstance.
Mhm.
But remember that your circumstance is not all there is to life. And in case you have forgotten, your circumstance can change in a split second, right? And some of you, you're going through the worst time of your life, but if you get a good news right now, you're gonna change your mind. You're gonna be happy again, right? You
Yeah.
may be worried and stressed out, and someone calls and say, "Hey, I deposited some funds in your account," and you'll completely forget about the worry and the stress. What I'm saying is, operate as though you've gotten the call tonight. How
Hmm.
about we do that and look forward to the amazing things that God can do in our lives, because His hands are not short. And
Yes.
times the reason we're going through is because there's a process that we have to go through. So for example, as a businesswoman, I go through experiences that are very unpleasant. They're very uncomfortable. I don't want to go through them. I don't want to go through the conflicts and the issues. But at the same time, how can I want to have millions and billions and not go through those experiences that are going to teach me how to maintain, how to build wealth, how to go through paying off debt? I need all those things to make me a better businesswoman. And it's the same as a parent, as a wife. You need those different experiences, because that's what's going to take you to the next level. And for many of us, the reason we're so uncomfortable right now is because we're in the middle of a transition. But if you can't hang with it on this level, how are you going to manage on the next one?
I so beautifully said. And as you were talking, Natasha, I was thinking, well, the reason why you can handle your current challenges, Natasha, is because you were schooled in challenges coming up. And to whom much is given, much is more is expected and required from God. God prepared you. Now, it wouldn't be how you would have chosen it, right? But
Absolutely.
God did prepare you to handle tough news and challenges, and He gave you this huge platform right now with your company. Where yes, I understand being an entrepreneur. It's tough. It can be tough and as well as rewarding, but the tough parts are tough. But God gave you, He gave you that experience through what you went through, and He was there. And so, hey, guys, if you guys have no more questions, we're gonna pause it for tonight. I just want to make an announcement. Um, there's one scripture that spoke to me this morning as I was praying about this podcast tonight. I was taken back to Romans 5. And this part of Romans 5, 3-4 says, not only so, but there was more before that, 1 and 2, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that the suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. So it's how you look at your sufferings, right? Because when you're a child of God, He's working something out through your suffering. Perseverance is building your character, and He's giving you hope. And I just want to also, um, uh, if you guys want to be a guest on our show, you can go to our website, gorgeous woman movement /.com, GW podcast. And for those of you who are looking for a Bible study, we are going to be having our 9th season, our 9th year of the Gorgeous Woman Mentoring Circle. You can go online and you can register. I know some of you here have been in that class already. Some of you guys repeat the class 2 or 3 times. But if you're brand new, it's a wonderful 8 or 9 weeks together with other women all across the country, all across the world. We get together and I teach from the Gorgeous Woman book, and we just learn a tremendous amount of stuff. So gorgeouswomanmovement.com /resources/mentoring circle. Natasha, thank you so much. It was everything that I expected and wanted. My Ephesians 3:20 is my life verse, and you delivered for me over and above what I would have asked. God for and thought of or imagined. Thank you so much. And I want to just, continue to ask the Lord to bless you and bless your husband, Mr. Jamar. Bless the work of your hands. Expand your influence. Just like Jabez, it says, enlarge your borders, enlarge your territory, keep you in good health, and continue to allow you to be an ambassador, not just for the UN, but an ambassador for Him, and to continue to give you that platform. And so I just thank you so much for being here tonight. And everyone says thank you. Thank you both very much. Thank you. And someone who said mind food was this comment here, Tina, mind food specialist. Natasha's company is called Mind Food International. And so I love the name because we do feed our minds. And what are we putting in, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll see you guys back here next week, Wednesday at the same time. And if you're a team replay, okay? We'll see you in the feed. Take care, guys.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye.
having me.
Bye.